How's it going, real dealers? It's your man Philip Hall, and before we begin today's podcast, I want to give a huge shout out to our peeps over at Men's Trends. Men's Trends is a new clothing line on the market that specializes in the best workout attire for your next quarantine workout or gym workout wherever you are. Make sure to go follow them on Instagram at Men's Trends and also check out their line on menstrends.com. Make sure to use our code The Real Deal for you to get 25% off on your next purchase. Stay fit, stay strong, and always keep it real. Hope you enjoyed today's episode. How's it going, real dealers? It is your man, Philip Hall. Welcome to another edition of the Real Deal Bros podcast. And today I have a very awesome guest with me. He played college baseball over at Gonzaga University. He was drafted in the 8th round by the Cleveland Indians back in 2017. He's been a AA All-Star, MinorLeagueBaseball.com organization All-Star 2018 and 2019. And he's currently a AAA pitcher right now in the Cleveland Indians organization. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome minor league pitcher Eli Morgan to the Real Deal Bros podcast.
Thanks for having me on, Philip. Yeah, it's been quite some time since I last met you. I actually met you in that 2017 year that I got drafted. So
Yeah,
good to
man.
be on. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and yeah, really, yeah. You know, I kind of knew when I first met Eli and when I kind of did some research on him after I met him, I kind of knew this guy's gonna have a shot in pro baseball because you go look at this guy's stats. I mean, I think back in 2017, I think the year that you were drafted, I think you were up there probably like around the top 5 in the nation in strikeouts. I think.
I ended the regular season third.
Third.
We
Okay.
didn't make postseason play, so might have slipped after that, but I do remember that. I
Yeah.
ended third that year.
Mm. Yeah. Also, yeah, Eli, he's a California guy too. He's from Rancho Palos Verdes, if
Mm-hmm.
I'm correct. Yeah, all the way down in Southern California. So,
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah,
always
living
like to hear
close by
about.
in Redondo Beach right now.
Oh, okay, awesome. Yeah, so I always like to hear about California guys making it to the pros. Definitely, shows the talent that comes out of the Golden State. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
rep local always.
yeah, it's been pretty cool. So yeah, Eli, just let everybody know about you, like how you've been up to, and you could also give people a little bit of background on how you came like play baseball and how you're able to play professionally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
certainly. So started baseball just like most players. Started t-ball. Did the whole working up through little league. Played club ball. Played high school ball, and then the real baseball started in college. Went to Gonzaga. Was recruited there. They're one of the only schools that offered me out of high school. Definitely wasn't very highly recruited. Certainly wasn't thinking about pro ball at all. In high school, I was fairly focused on studies. I still wanted to play at the college level, but my ambitions were kind of like just set at college. Remember having in English class like freshman year, I had to write a paper. Where do you see yourself 10 years? And I remember saying, it was like, I'd love to be a baseball player, but I just don't know if that's possible.
Mm.
So I kind of wrote that off, and who knows where I put in the rest of the essay. That's not the important thing, but I do specifically remember kind of writing off pro ball at that point. And it wasn't until after my freshman year in college, went up to Alaska Baseball League and played a season of summer ball there. And then after talking to my first pro scout, I was like, dang, this could happen, if I continue to put in work. And I remember that summer kind of visualizing what my plan going forward would look like. I remember, knowing that I was going to have to put up a good year sophomore year. I was going to have to maintain a starting role that whole time. Was, hopefully going to go to the Cape Cod League. It was the, like the best college league to go to. So it was
Mm.
a big deal as a sophomore to be able to go there. And then, I got drafted after a really good junior year to the Indians. Have played 2.5 seasons with them, and am currently just on hold like the rest of minor league baseball as to what goes next. Well, that's
Yeah.
kind of a little background on how I got here.
Yeah, man. It's definitely like every player always has that journey growing up, starting when you first pick up baseball. I had playing in the front yard, playing catch with your dad. And like next thing you know, parents sign you up for Little League and then play on Little League, then you get to high school. Then that's when it starts to get real serious when you go into college. And then, it's like the big time when you go pro, get that first contract once you're drafted. Yeah, it's definitely, like that's why, as a guy that's played baseball growing up as well, you definitely have to understand like the grind that most players do have to go through just to get where they are now. I mean, it's so hard. I mean, there's like over a million kids around the country, like actually a million kids around the world that wish, and that grind to make sure that they do play at the pro level. And just
Yeah,
you
definitely.
being in that fraction of the players that could style themselves as a professional baseball player, it definitely shows that hard work and determination that you've always had.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, that summary definitely doesn't show the work that I had to put in to get there. In high school and college, it was definitely a long, just a lot of steps to get through. But just as you continue to improve each year, I feel like what I did was just kind of starting to gain confidence, seeing what went well this year, what I can do next year, and then just kind of gaining that confidence. I was able to envision, at one point being in minor league baseball, but yeah, that definitely happened later than I had anticipated after thinking about that.
Hmm. Yeah. So, yeah. You kind of broke down like how you were able to, just grow up and being able to like play in college and be able to play in the pros and kind of make it to where you are now. So, I guess to give a little bit more insight, how have you been able to like develop your skills over the years, like from high school to college to the pros?
hmm Yeah, I mean that's it. Like that's what I do as a professional athlete is I have to get better each and every year. How that happens has changed. I know that how I worked out in high school is certainly different than how I work out now, but the same intention was always I have to outwork the person next to me. Just in whichever way that may be. There's more than one way to skin a cat. There's a ton of ways to work out. I mean, I remember in high school, I'd just go into a public gym, would try to get under a squat rack a bunch, would try to eat a ton, put on weight, with the goal being increasing velocity. It's just the easiest way to get seen by a college is to throw harder. And it was something I just never did in high school. Even at the end, I was maybe throwing 88 at the max. Um, and then in college, have a real strength coach, learn a real strength program. And not that my high school one wasn't good. Our coaches worked really hard in high school. It's less extensive, by nature. Um, then when I got to college, started to, work out every day with the team. It's a really demanding schedule that you develop in college, but you're also granted like a good bit of free time that, you know, you can choose how you go about your day with that free time. You can party, you can study, you can work out. I mean, it's not saying that partying is bad, not saying studying, all that stuff. It all has its place somewhere. But the thing for me, and it definitely flipped the script that sophomore year, was the priorities of the things I was doing, and working out to become a better baseball player became that number one priority after the sophomore year. Um, Specific training things that I do, like I'm still learning. It's like if I had to say what am I going to do in the future to get better, I genuinely don't know. Like I hope that I continue to get guided in the right direction, but I'm learning stuff every day about how to properly work out, how to maintain your body, how to increase velocity, how to properly recover from an outing. It's a never ending kind of list or journal that I just have to keep adding to of stuff that I pick up along the way. um, a quote that I like is you learn from everything and you add what you want to add and throw out what you want to throw out. You don't have to stick to one plan, but you should definitely at the very minimum like absorb a plan that you're given to and see how it could help the one you've got now, and what you could change to improve going forward.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, just knowing that you're a minor league guy and just kind of getting that backstory of how going to the gym. I mean, by different levels, like high school gym is far different from a gym. Like I'm pretty sure the gym at your high school is far different than the gym that you had at Gonzaga.
Mm-hmm.
And even like going into the minor leagues, because I know like most minor league teams, there's kind of like the bottom barrel for pro baseball, but
Right.
still has like the best competition all around. So, how has it been like, or how has the minor league experience been for you? So for the past 3 years.
It's certainly eye opening. I mean, there's a ton of things you hear. You can you can watch a minor league game, kind of see what happens. I remember going to minor league games as a kid. They were a ton of fun. It's a lot more engaging than a major league crowd, just by nature of the stadium being smaller. But actually being in there and playing, going through it, it feels just kind of natural at this point. Learned a ton. The season is longer than any season I've ever had. The travel is, maybe not distance wise as tough as college, but we don't fly, so we have to bus everywhere. And those bus times can range from an hour to 14 hours. It just depends where you got to go on a specific day. But we get put up in nice hotels. There's exceptions. There's some towns that just can't maintain a nice hotel just by nature.
Or like Holiday Inns, Best Westerns, like
no, there are. I've never had a bad issue with Holiday Inn, but there are some no-name places we've stayed that have
okay.
been a little run down, but nothing terrible. You hear the horror stories; they happen occasionally, but especially with the Indians, we get treated pretty well. And I've loved every bit of it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, just a guy that's playing minor league baseball, because like up and down Ohio, and I could kind of see how that's like, and Ohio kind of being like that country type rural mixing with mid city type state.
Oh yeah.
And and just kind of talk a little bit about that more, because I like whenever I follow your stats, and I follow to see how's Eli doing on occasion. I'm seeing that you're playing like in Lake County, like you're moved up to AA Akron, then one point you're getting to AAA Columbus. So like how is that transition like for a player? Like say like you're playing in high A for one day, then the next day you get a call saying, hey, we need you up, like you're getting called up to AA and then AAA. Like how does that transition work? Like what's like the day-to-day process for that?
I got you. I think for that I'll go through like kind of the timeline. Maybe say what changed at each level. So I get drafted 2017, and I go to Mahoning Valley, which is our short season A program. In that league, we play, it was 70 games. It's called the New York Penn League, so we're all around New York, Pennsylvania, parts of Ohio. The league was a lot of college guys and second or third year high school or international signs. So 18 through 22, you really don't see a ton of older guys in that league. There will be the 25-year-olds, but coming out of college, it felt like I just went back into a college season. I was facing a lot of familiar faces, and then the unfamiliar faces were still my age, so it wasn't a jarring kind of first year in short season ball. I did really well that year. That definitely helps with the confidence, but just playing against familiar faces was, made that experience a little easier. And then the next year, 2018, I start off in A ball at Lake County. I was there for, a month and a half, and then get promoted to high A, which was all the way down in Lynchburg, Virginia. So I, just get the word, have to pack up everything I got mid-season and, put it in my car, drive 9.5 hours to a new state, a new culture. Being out east, I haven't been out there a whole lot. The kind of the religious aspect of Lynchburg was something I haven't seen. Just being out in California, very progressive. You don't see the church involved with, town stuff all that often. Whereas Lynchburg was a little different. A lot of churchgoers, and all of them very, warm and inviting. I love my time there, but it was definitely an opening experience being in a town like that. And then I end that year in Lynchburg, had a good first full season. You had named a couple of the accolades from that year. Next season, I get sent back to Lynchburg, start 2019 back there. And that kind of, put a chip on my shoulder. I thought that, I had done enough to go up to AA, but that's the nature of the game. There were a ton of guys that were ahead of me at that point. And I had to, go back there, prove on a new year that I could have success at that level. And I did. I started out strong and then got the call up to AA last year, and then spent most of the year there. That was the largest jump, was from high A to AA. Driving back up to Ohio wasn't that bad, but you get there and all of a sudden you're facing ex big league guys, guys that you've watched, like people I've watched on TV for many of years are standing in the box next to me. And then that was a little bit jarring. I started out pretty hot out of the gate, put up good numbers, and that really eased the transition that I was pitching well. But then, it didn't go unnoticed. I started to know a lot of the names that I'm pitching against, and you see whether you're good enough at that point. And having a good year doesn't mean you're good enough. I had a good year. That doesn't mean I'm a big leaguer, but it means that I do have good enough stuff to get out big leaguers. And that kind of that experience, that confidence building from that is kind of how I've shaped the offseason. I need to know like what I need to do to get out a lineup of 9 big leaguers, not a double A lineup of, maybe 3 big leaguers and 6 minor league guys. If I want to take that next step, I have to be able to get out 9 big leaguers 3 times through the order. That's what you have to do as a starting pitcher. So I think that was the biggest eye opener, was the high A to double A jump. And then triple A, it was just one start last year. Moved up there, filled in for a start, and then got sent back down. Was hoping to start this year, maybe back up there, but not sure yet. Especially after this incident, the pandemic, we really don't know kind of how it'll even look next year. What a level might even be. So no way to tell going forward, but that's kind of been the timeline to this point. You just the best way I've heard it put is you start facing the number 1 through 6 guys in the lineup 1 through 9. Meaning if you're in low A, 1 through 6 are the best hitters. 6, 7, 8, 9, maybe the lower end. At the next level, every hitter 1 through 9 is a 1 through 6 guy. And then it just keeps shrinking, like from low A to high A, it might be, the 5 best guys are now in a lineup of 9. You keep increasing the amount of like very scary at bats. And that's what the big league level is going to be, is a ton of guys. Every single guy up there can have a scary at bat. And, if I want to get to that level, I have to be able to, throw 100 pitches in a game, with 100 of them being big league pitches. And that's what I continue to work on.
Yeah, and just knowing that you played for the Cleveland Indians, and I said like the Indians, like they have, like, to me, like in my perspective, I've kind of always seen the Indians having like a very diverse farm system. I mean, like they groom star players like Francisco Lindor, Mike Clevenger, like Yan Gomes, like some of the big name players in baseball right now. Like, is there, with the players that you've played so far in the minors, like, have there been any players that you developed any like strong relationships with, or have just gotten to know on like a friend on friend, or like a brotherhood type relationship? Like, you think you could emphasize a little bit more on that?
Yeah, I mean, I could name off, all the people that I've played with. I think you're kind of asking more about like what a minor league, like kind of how the relationships feel at the minor league level.
Yeah,
Maybe.
something like that.
Okay. It's slightly complicated. You do get very close with some guys, but everyone knows that you're also like playing against them. So as close as you can get with the guy, and as much as you really want to watch him succeed on the field, like, that's my competition right there. So it can at times be slightly weird, but most of the guys are, we just try to push past what we have to do on the field and just hang out. We're together all the time on the road. We'll take an 8-hour bus ride together, and then you go to the hotel, you room with one of them, and then you eat together. You're with your teammates 24/7. So you just, it's just kind of a normal, it just feels normal life almost. You have your friends, you have people that you're close with, you have people that maybe you don't talk to that much, but you're perfectly fine with. Yeah, I don't know that. I don't know if I answered that correctly.
Yeah. Well, like, what about like the international guys you play with? Because I know Indians, they have a very strong like scouting system for guys that they sign from Puerto Rico, the Dominican Republic, and other parts of the Caribbean. Like, with them, being first timers coming over to the States and probably not knowing the language or the culture that much, like, how have you been able to help them, or like what are things that you have done to connect with those players coming from, like overseas, or
Yeah.
across the water?
Yeah, so that was another eye-opening thing. Right when I walked into that clubhouse first day as a minor leaguer, it's half Latino guys at the minimum,
Mm.
in the lower levels, and I just got to learn a new culture. Like, it's so cool just to see how these dudes live compared to Americans that I grew up with. You see similarities. You see kind of you know where they might have picked up some stuff that we do in America, and then you pick up their stuff too. They're a lot more kind of vocal and like energetic in the clubhouse. That's something I wasn't used to. Um, it's fun in there, but kind of coming out of college where you kind of have to fake a seriousness almost of
Mm.
we're here to win this
Oh, it's not like
not
a
every
it's
game
not
is
it's not
that
like a
serious
kid.
about winning the championship. Like, some games are just games, and you have a lot of fun playing them. You try your best, but it's not it's not I'm never going to sleep again if I can't win this game.
Is it more like kind of like a kid like, because like baseball has always been like a kid's game, so like is it kind of like a kid like attitude, or like
Definitely.
probably for you coming out of college, like a lot of college players, they kind of come out, like still like you're still kind of a kid, like guys saying you're drafted junior senior year, you're just fresh out, and even like these high school guys coming up, like they're a little bit they're a lot more probably unmatured than most college players,
Hmm.
but at the same time, they still have that kid type attitude. Or was it like that for most of the international players? Like, because I think probably you probably played for most of the guys that were coming overseas. They're probably like 18, 19, 20 years old. Did it feel different, or did they behave different in the same way that like a 21-year-old guy coming out of college would, or how, like what was the
Certainly.
level of
Yeah.
engagement like?
Yeah. I feel like their personalities are huge, and in a good way. It can be infectious. I feel like the college guys might have been a little quieter. Just you know the the actual structure of a team in college is just more laid out that way. Less personality, more team. Whereas these international guys, just have really big personalities, and you start to get used to them, and it's fun to see. A lot of them can just keep such a high level of energy every day throughout a season, and it's infectious. Some of those guys that can do that. Um, their culture also, like with baseball, allows a lot more personality on the field.
Hmm.
Um, MLB has the whole discussion on bat flips and
Right,
personality and swag.
right.
Um, they're bringing it over. The international guys are bringing over the swag, and we're gonna have to adapt as Americans. And it's cool to see their personalities start to show in Major League more. Some of that stuff's starting to get accepted, and not just like, oh yeah, he's showing up the pitcher. It's like, no, that man's having fun. He's just playing a game.
Yeah, I mean, like as a guy that watches baseball, I do love to see those guys show off their personality with the bat flips, like cool slides, and like it's popping the chain or whatever. It's I feel like for baseball to be back in that perspective of a mainstream sport, you do need those guys that have that type of attitude. I mean, just it's okay to be a little bit flashy, but at
It
the
is.
same, yeah,
And
at the same time, yeah, like, there are players, they still got to play the game the right way, without trying to step on anybody's toes. And
yeah,
and I feel like, yeah, like when I do see the international guys doing that, yeah, I feel like they are kind of like trailblazing in a certain way, where they can show off their personalities. And yeah, for the American players, even though, yeah, there are American players that have always had that attitude, I feel like just all that's been going around baseball, and like the discussion of, like you mentioned, the discussion of bat flips, and like, oh yeah, that's disrespectful to pitchers. And I don't know, like as a pitcher, how do you feel? Like just let's be honest, man. Like, have you been bat flipped on before by anybody, or like was?
I'm sure I have. I know I've been shown up before. It's just it's just not as big of a deal. I've never I've felt disrespect on a baseball field before, and I've taken that out. Just I don't know that taking it out means like, just yelling back. I've done that before. I've gotten chippy with guys on the baseball field. Everyone has.
Mm.
It's a unique environment, being with your team, and some games where it's a win or lose, where it's actually in a very important game, adrenaline goes high. And sometimes I would want to shut down, maybe a bat flip, but that's only if it happened in like an important game, just
Mm.
like, where the excitement of the game itself would set me off, not the actual bat flip. I don't know that I've ever just even noticed one, in minor league ball. I've given up plenty of home runs. I've probably, that it happens, I give up home runs. I know for sure I've been bat flipped in a couple of them, but I haven't noticed it, and it wouldn't offend me if it did.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know, I guess some players, they do have like that certain level of kind of like discipline or just self-esteem where like, oh, if somebody back flips on me, I feel disrespected. But it's part of the game. Like like a batter's job is to hit home runs, like same way where a pitcher's job is to get the batter out or strike him out in some
Yeah.
way. I just because I think like back in the day, maybe like 50s, 60s, there probably weren't that many flashy guys coming up, but at the same time, there were players that were kind of like, tough headed, just real tough about it and, kind of macho. And, they feel like, oh, if I get disrespected by a batter, I'm going to be retaliated or I'm going to retaliate in some way. But I don't know. I guess is kind of different now with just just the principle behind like, oh, if this guy does this, then he's gonna get labeled in some way. And
Right.
it like it's different. And with just this new era of baseball, there's gonna be a lot of changes and a lot of certain things that maybe the old fashioned fans might not want to see, but the mainstream kids, like the millennial fans, they probably want to see more of that stuff. They want to see backflips. They want to see like guys playing with more excitement, playing with more flair. And
Yeah.
again, I feel like that's kind of that adds to the involved like the involvement of the game like as a whole.
Yeah. There exists probably a perfect, baseball game where there's the perfect amount of swag, the perfect amount of, being stoic and professional. But neither side's right. It shouldn't be 27 bat flips in a game, and it
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't be zero. It should be somewhere in between. Just let your own personality come out. That's the other thing you see being on a locker room with 30 plus guys is, everyone has their own personality. Sometimes they're different. They could clash, but for the most part, everyone just gets along. We have fun playing baseball, and it's life's good.
Yeah, I mean, living out a kid's dream.
Yep.
It's
Exactly.
every player's dream playing pro
Yeah.
baseball. Like making money while doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah, man. I kind of want to go more deep into because well, obviously with the whole situation that's happening around the world with COVID-19, I kind of want to go more deep into how has a minor league baseball been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic? Just from your perspective, what changes have minor league baseball or like in relation to with what Major League Baseball has been doing as far as trying to get players back on the field or trying to find some way to compensate for games as well as for pay.
Mm-hmm. Um, the I'd say the extent of it's still unknown. We still don't know everything about the virus. We still don't know what next year might even look like, just as a society, let alone as a baseball game. Minor league baseball is just decimated. Regardless of how it comes back, it's going to come back in a lesser form. Just today, a ton of guys getting released. A lot of those are standard releases that just happen year by year. Unrelated to the virus, but certainly a higher number
Hmm.
um, will get released because of that. And then there's talk about cutting up to 40 minor league programs. If they do that, then we're looking at the short season that I played in 2017, that league being gone, any sort of rookie short season ball. And for those that don't know how that short season rookie ball goes, the minor league season starts, sometime April 1st. Let's just say it's a normal season. It'll start that first couple weeks of April, goes till September. Playoffs, come back home, spring training next year, rinse, repeat. But the short seasons, you stay there after spring training, train a little bit. It's usually for first or second year high school players, international guys, and just anyone that's younger will be in the rookie leagues. And then the guys that just get drafted from college go straight to either a rookie league. Some guys go up to A-ball, but most of the time they get sent to one of the few rookie leagues. They're talking about getting rid of that. Those games a lot of times don't get a ton of fans. A lot of them are just held at the spring training facilities. So there's been talks about getting rid of those, but it's nothing official, luckily. But it certainly doesn't look good. I mean, Major League Baseball itself isn't coming back for, if they decide today, it's got to be a month at the minimum. I don't even think they're discussing minor leagues. They're just first and foremost talking about major leagues, which they should. It's way more important than minor leagues. I get that.
It's top priority.
But we certainly don't have any set outlook on the minor league timeline. Other than that, it doesn't look very good. It certainly won't look like what it did last year.
So it almost sounds like it's not so much the virus that's causing them. It's more of what the virus has done to the economy. There's more of just economical liabilities that are coming into place as far as cutting these minor league teams and, just not having a set plan for when they can return.
Right. It's the same as, a lot of small businesses. It's just hard to survive without income, and then these teams get income for the 6 months that we're in season. And, we've already lost half of that. We're certainly going to lose the other half if there's no plan. I mean, it's not officially canceled, but it sure seems like there's no minor league season this year. That's going to be tough for some teams. A lot of them are independently owned. Some are owned by major league teams, or, I'm not sure exactly how it works, but I know that some are independently owned, and it's going to be tougher on some than others as to if they can come back next year and, go back to business as usual, or what it might look like.
I know for really just the foundation of minor league baseball. I've not only that I haven't played baseball, I'm very baseball historian. For those that don't know, but just going to school for sport management and kind of learning more about the basis of how sports began, and just when even for minor league teams, I was able to, in one of my classes, there was a lecture I had on, just the foundation of sports, the Olympics, or, horse racing, stuff like that. I was able to, get some information on the foundation of really where minor league baseball came from, because before, you had your Major League Baseball levels with the American League, National League, but there was a time where there weren't any AA, AAA, or high A affiliates. Minor league minor league baseball teams were based around the country, and they were really independently owned. This was back when baseball was the main sport, like the god of sports in America. And there were owners that had teams that had set payrolls for these minor league guys. And what major league teams would do, they would they would scout from the minor league teams to assign them to the major league teams. It wasn't like there was a draft, because the first major league draft wasn't until 1965, I believe. It was 1965. That was when the first Major League Baseball draft was. But before 65, teams would sign players, with a bonus contract, just regular scouting procedure, and just give them a contract up front. There wasn't a draft, or there wasn't any affiliates that were put into place until after 65, when major league teams with the minor league teams and kind of outsourced those teams, saying, hey, we could buy the ownership or ownership liabilities or ownership of your team, and just have them as kind of a feeder to our major league team. And just thinking about it now, with the whole situation of minor league teams having to cut, because I read I think a few weeks ago, the Mets, they had to cut 2 of their minor league teams in order to compensate for loss of money. And just thinking about that, I think with the way that minor league baseball is now, just the state of it, I feel like it could possibly go back to where teams would be independently owned. There wouldn't be any affiliates. If major league teams want to sign minor league guys, they would have to scout for them on their own. Like, yeah, they could still have the draft in place, but even with this year's draft, it's going to be cut down to 5 rounds instead of the 40, 50 rounds that they usually have every year.
Yeah.
And and yeah, like when I heard about that, it kind of shocked me that, man, I can only imagine the guys that were like that had a shot at getting drafted this year. There's a possibility that they might not get the opportunity to go in those 5 rounds, and if they don't, then they're just gonna have to compensate to either stay in college for another year, or even for like the high school guys, they're gonna have to either think about playing at a JUCO if they want to get a shot at getting drafted next year, or decide to go to the 6-year, 4-year commitment. If they did commit to a 4-year school, they could go on and play at wherever wherever 4-year school they decide to go to.
Right.
And yeah, I just think there's a lot of incomplete management procedures or management obligations that are going on with minor league baseball right now. And yeah, it's a tough situation. And again, like, nobody expected the country or the world to be where it is right now. But at the same time, there are dues that need to be fulfilled, and there are things that need to change. And
right,
yeah,
certainly.
but,
Yeah, I didn't know about the I didn't know the history of the draft and everything.
mm-hmm.
I think to add to that, I'm not sure that it could go back to fully independent, just because there are already established independent leagues.
Right. Right.
Plenty of international leagues. There are some. That there's a Can-Am league. There's a Frontier league. There's a ton of independent leagues in America already.
Yeah, it's semi-pro. Yeah, semi-pro leagues.
Yeah. So I mean, we'll see. We really don't know what next year will look like. So it could start to see some more teams go through the independent route to gain players. Especially if a normal farm system is going to have less guys. Let's say in spring training we had about 250 guys this year.
Mm-hmm.
If things get bad and they just start cutting minor league guys and we have a ton less, then there's going to be a bigger market for the independent teams to pick up those guys so they can play in their stadiums.
Yeah. And I haven't really been following that much with the independent leagues for what they've been doing, but I think they're kind of in the same boat as most of the minor league teams, knowing that they're kind of like, from my perspective,
they're at the mercy of how the virus keeps going. I mean, they can't operate without fans. So
exactly, yeah,
like,
there are those teams that rely solely on ticket sales, merchandise, and concession profits to help operate and help pay the players and that that play on their team. Right. And again, but it's not just really for the players. It's also just for the loss of jobs that are in our place. I mean, like, these minor league teams, even though they're in the minor leagues, like, they still have just as much job fulfillments as a major league team would. Like, there's coaching jobs, there's concession jobs, there's trainer jobs. Like, there's like clubhouse managers. Like, there are jobs that are also being lost with the fact that minor league teams are having to be cut. Which I
don't know the exact numbers, but I would imagine that there are definitely more jobs being lost to the concession workers, all those jobs. I bet you that number has to be higher than minor leaguers. I mean, some stadiums even at the minor league level run super legit operations. I mean, you walk in there and you feel like you're being treated like a major league game. Like they have just everything, good scoreboard, good concessions, on-field stuff. I mean, there's a ton of behind the scenes in a minor league game, and all those people are either out of jobs, furloughed. Some organizations are still paying, luckily. It's a huge job loss from this.
Yeah, but I kind of want to put the ball in your court for a minute, Eli. So what, from your perspective, say if you were like team owner, or say if you commissioner of baseball, what do you think Major League Baseball and minor league baseball should do to compensate for loss of games or loss of pay and job opportunities in the sport? If you had the capability, if you had the power to do that, what do you think would be the best option like to go through with the plan to get back to baseball if we do so this year?
I mean, to get back this year, um, I guess I'll talk just major leagues because they're coming back before minor league does. The only way minor leagues come back is if major leagues come back. Um, they have down to the very basics of it. They have to get an agreement done. They have to agree on how they're going to pay wages because they're currently trying to change what they might have agreed on in March. That's about all I know about that. I don't know. I mean, they're talking about like just prorated salaries. That's what they agreed on in March, and now they're trying to change the finances of it because the owners are saying that they're going to lose just substantial portions of their expected revenue.
Yeah, there's going to be a huge pay cut with that because there was a chart that I saw, and Bryce Harper being one of the highest paid players, already making like $26 million a year. Like with the prorated contract cut, his contract is going to go from 26 million down to 6 million for the year
Right.
for the year alone. And just knowing even like in the possibility for minor league baseball to return, like the minor league salaries are probably going to be cut dramatically because the minor league salaries, everybody that doesn't really follow minor league baseball as much, minor league salaries do not compare as much to the major league salaries. I think the average major league salary for a major league baseball player is around 500,000, and the average salary for most minor league guys, depending on what level you're playing at, is about close to between 30 to 75 grand a year. And just what
No, sir.
Yeah, just with
last
that.
Last year I played a full season. I made $6,600. Like we don't get
6,600.
Yeah, we don't get paid anywhere near 30K. Like most guys will get 6 to 7,000 a year. If you sign a free agent deal, you could get numbers, but the 80%, 90, maybe 95% of minor leaguers are getting. It's I think the most I've gotten is like 1,200 a month, and then next year it would have been 1,300.
Wow.
Yeah, and they only pay us for what we play. So yeah, so I think last year I made 1,200 a month and played like 5.5 months, so made around 6.5 grand.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So
that's something that the general public doesn't know. I mean, I remember sitting in stands here.
I'm glad you're here to tell us
hearing
this, man.
fans talk about this. They're like, oh yeah, first round guys get 500K a year, bench riders get 40. I'm like, dude,
no.
that guy right there is a guaranteed big leaguer. He's making 6,500 this year, and the guy next to him is a guaranteed not big leaguer. He's making that same money. Like, no one gets paid. You get your signing bonus. That's where you get your money from. You get your signing bonus, and then after that, you just you get about 6,000 to 7,000 a year until you either make the bigs or get a minor league free agent deal or are done with baseball.
Yeah, I'm glad you cleared that up because I feel like even though you guys do have the pro status like a professional baseball player, you don't get the contract that everybody's talking about, that the contracts that they're talking about in MLB Network.
Right.
There are. I feel like minor league baseball, like for most players, they do they do live like underneath the poverty line for how much the average American makes, and just with that in mind,
right.
And just knowing like with players' contracts had to be cut, like there's a major league players that are getting their contract cut from millions of dollars to like almost like eight figure contracts getting cut down to 7 or 6 figure contracts. And for the minor league guys, it's going to be cut down to from a 4 figure to a 3 figure contract, which does put things into perspective that they're like it's tough, like, and knowing how many guys that I've known that currently play in the minors, and that have also played in the minors in the past. They do say like it's rough, and which is the reason why I feel like Major League Baseball, like baseball players, they grind more than any other sport. I mean, if you compare with like other sports like basketball or football, when a guy gets drafted out of college, he instantly goes into the league with $1 million contract or somewhere near that. Like for baseball, is way different. Even though you do have the option to, get drafted out of high school, go play in the pros, play in the minors, or get drafted out of college, go play in the minors. And even in some case, there was a guy that I heard about. He got drafted last year. I think the Braves picked him up, but he declined it, and he decided to go play pro baseball over in Japan because he knew that he was going to get paid
Hard
more.
Stewart, yeah.
And
Yeah, that was a big deal. That was a
yeah,
big deal.
yeah, like when I saw,
I believe he's a Boris guy. And that was like a huge deal. I mean, that guy was a legit prospect, supposed to go like first round, and he's like, no, I'm gonna go play overseas. Interesting to see how that plays out. I think that'd be really cool to watch him, forego 2 or 3 years in the minor leagues, get better pay overseas, then come, if he's good enough one day to play in the majors. I think that'd be a really cool story, and competition for the normal, just the normal path to the majors. I mean, you're seeing it in basketball, a little bit of reform in the path up to the NBA. I think we could see that in Major League Baseball maybe soon if minor leagues get destroyed by it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I feel like that would play a big role, for baseball to come out, like for guys that are playing baseball and they get drafted, they'll have the opportunity to go play
From a
in the
negotiating standpoint,
majors.
they have another backup plan that they have to weigh against.
Yeah, and but yeah, just go back to the Carter Stewart thing. Yeah, it kind of opened my eyes because that shocked me. Like the guy was a first rounder, but he decided to go playing over in Japan because he knew like what the risks were to playing over in the States. Like he wasn't gonna get paid enough. Like competition is really steep, especially in the Braves organization. But just with him going over, like having that sacrifice to go play professionally in a different country, and like having to learn the language, like adapt to the culture, and even in Japan, like the competition over there is just as it's just as good as the competition over here in the States. And
Right.
I
Yeah,
am,
it's a solid thing. Yeah.
yeah, and
It's super. I mean, super courageous what he did, dude. 18, 19 years old. It's like, oh, let's go play overseas. Like, good for you. I don't think I could make that decision.
yeah, man,
So,
yeah. I mean, yeah, like I feel like a lot of guys will have the utmost respect for him just to do that because it definitely does describe like the grind and kind of does show off just how dedicated you have to be. Like like you have to love the sport to death to be able to get where you are. And there's a lot of trials and tribulations that go through of being a guy like growing up and having to play the sport for your whole life, and just knowing that the pro, like the shot making to the MLB is very slim in some cases, but it's just about the talent, just the determination, the drive, just to be able to play at that level, because that like there's so few guys that fall short of it, and even
so
guys
many
that
things have to go for it too.
what was that?
Yeah. I mean, just a lot of things have to go right for it. There's plenty of guys that, just, especially in some minor league guys, just have to hang them up strictly financially. I mean, I don't forget like that I am blessed, I don't have a ton of expenses right now. So luckily I can afford to live off, the 6,600 a year that they pay us. But it's a lot of guys that can't do that and have to give up their opportunity early without really seeing what they might have done. It's just the nature of it, and there's going to be more stories you hear like that, of guys just losing their. I mean, it's happening everywhere. It's not exclusive to minor league guys, but a lot of dreams are going to get ruined from the virus.
Yeah, that's the tough part about it.
Yeah.
It's just I wish that athletes could be seen, because but I always say all the time when people like bring up the conversation, like, oh, athletes, like they're like they live extravagant lifestyles, they don't have to worry about money financially. But the fact is, even though like athletes do get paid a ton of money to play a sport and like show off their talent, they're still human. Like I always say, athletes aren't robots, they're still human. And and just the fact that, because like again, athletes, they're human, just like me and you. Like they gotta pay bills. Like athletes that have families, they gotta send their kids to school, like put food on the table, like take care of their girlfriends and their wives, and like also just be able to like pay medical stuff, like pay home insurance, pay car insurance. Like they do everything that,
Life
you know,
stuff
like,
that they're already just having to deal with. Yeah.
yeah, like, yeah, they do everything that, you know, you have to do in life. You know, you gotta pay taxes. Yeah, they have like these really cool jobs, but you know, they also have to live that human life. And
Exactly. Yeah. We're not exempt from, you know, the normal day-to-day stuff. You know, we still have to go through it, and then we get to play a game after.
right, yeah. But anyway, you know, Eli, yeah, I think like we're gonna wrap up there. Like, man, thank you so much for coming on, dude. Like, it really does mean a lot to hear from the perspective of a minor league baseball player with all that's going on right now, and you know, just not knowing what the future is going to be like in the next couple of months. Because you know, like, even though baseball does have a set plan to try to return July, you know, like you also got to focus on the minor league guys that are still waiting for their turn to get back on the field. And
Yep.
yeah, man, yeah, definitely, yeah. Thanks again for coming on and giving us your insight on, you know, like from the minor league perspective.
Of course, man. Always happy to talk. You know, I still remember that combo we had. You know, sorry that you're not, you know, still going on with baseball, but I always remember like how professional you were with coming up to me and stuff. Happy to come on this podcast anytime. Really appreciate you offering to have me on.
Yeah, again, like, yeah, I was just a kid then. You know, I was like, it was like my junior year when I came out to you and, you know, asked you. And yeah, you
Yeah.
know, like I wasn't afraid. Like I didn't feel like you're gonna get big like me. Like, you know, like, it was
No. Yeah.
like yeah. If you guys ever meet Eli in real life, he's a really awesome guy. Like, you know, he's like, yeah, he's fun to talk to. You know, he's
Thank you.
energetic. You know, he's got a great personality. But yeah, you know, he's a great guy. He's good people.
Thank you.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, that's gonna wrap it up for us from the Real Deal Bros podcast. And again, we had Eli Morgan on. Make sure to, you know, follow us on Spotify. Also check out our Instagram at the Real Deal Bros, and also leave Eli's Instagram at the bottom here. And yeah, also make sure to like, comment, subscribe to our YouTube channel, as we're steady growing, and we're trying to promote as much content for you to, you know, like content that we care about, and also that you care about as well. So yeah, thanks again, Eli, for coming on. And this has been the
Thanks,
Real
bro.
Deal Bros podcast. And as always, make sure to keep it real.